Rod Serling, the creative mind behind The Twilight Zone, is best known for his ability to weave thought-provoking social commentary into his storytelling. While his name is synonymous with science fiction and psychological thrillers, Serling also ventured into the Western genre with The Loner, a short-lived yet ambitious series that reflected his deep concerns about American society. Premiering just a year after The Twilight Zone ended, The Loner was ahead of its time, both in its mature themes and its progressive political messages. A Western with a Twilight Zone soul, Serling was no stranger to network interference, censorship battles, and the challenge of keeping a groundbreaking show on the air. Even as The Twilight Zone enjoyed critical success, he feared its cancellation and pitched a more marketable Western to CBS in an effort to secure his career. This show, The Loner, was initially rejected, but Serling would eventually get the chance to bring his vision to life after The Twilight Zone was canceled for good in 1964. Unlike the traditional westerns of the time, such as Bonanza, Wagon Train, and Gunsmoke, which often romanticized frontier justice, The Loner was a revisionist western that grappled with the moral ambiguities of violence, justice, and survival. The show followed William Colton, a Union Army veteran played by Lloyd Bridges, who roamed the post-Civil War West searching for meaning and redemption. His journey forced him into morally complex dilemmas, from confronting racism and sexism to dealing with the psychological scars of war. Serling had already hinted at his dissatisfaction with traditional westerns in the Twilight Zone episode Showdown with Rance McGrew, where a cocky television cowboy was humorously put in his place by the spirits of real-life outlaws. The Loner was his attempt to make a more mature, thought-provoking Western, but unfortunately, audiences at the time weren't ready for it. A show ahead of its time, The Loner stood apart from its contemporaries because of its raw and uncompromising look at social issues. In Serling's hands, the Wild West became a mirror for the turbulence of 1960s America. Many episodes tackled themes that were rarely addressed in mainstream television at the time. Colton faced off against a group resembling the Ku Klux Klan, highlighting the persistence of racial hatred even after the Civil War. One storyline explored the plight of sex workers who were terrorized by corrupt authorities. In another, Colton found himself entangled in a war crimes tribunal, forcing him to navigate the blurry line between justice and vengeance. A particularly striking episode centered on a Native American woman who fought to protect her mixed-race child from her own prejudiced family. Serling's sharp writing ensured that The Loner was more than just an action-driven Western. It was a deeply introspective show about human nature, morality, and the societal struggles of the time. Why The Loner failed to find an audience. Despite its powerful storytelling and Serling's reputation as a television visionary, The Loner struggled with low ratings and was canceled after just 26 episodes. Several factors contributed to its downfall. It was too late for the Western boom. By the mid-1960s, the golden age of TV Westerns was fading. While Bonanza and Gunsmoke remained popular, the genre was losing its dominance to sitcoms, spy dramas, and science fiction. The Loner arrived just as audiences were beginning to move on. Its themes were too mature for the time. Many viewers expected a standard gunslinger drama, but instead got morally complex stories that challenged traditional Western tropes. The show's exploration of racism, war, and social injustice was likely too radical for mainstream audiences in 1965. Network pressure to conform. CBS executives were reportedly uncomfortable with the show's heavy themes and frequently pressured Serling to tone down its content. Serling resisted, but the tension between his vision and the network's demands likely hurt the show's longevity. A lack of escapism. In an era when TV audiences sought entertainment as a means of escape, The Loner was unflinchingly realistic and often dark. Unlike the optimistic heroism of John Wayne-style westerns, Colton was a deeply flawed protagonist navigating a morally gray world, something that may have been too much for viewers at the time. The Loner's legacy and rediscovery. Though The Loner faded into obscurity, it remains a fascinating and underrated chapter in Rod Serling's career. Looking back, it's clear that the show was a precursor to the modern, complex westerns that would emerge decades later, such as Deadwood and Westworld. Serling himself remained proud of the show despite its commercial failure. His frustration with television's unwillingness to tackle hard-hitting subjects was evident in a speech he gave in Washington, D.C. Television's greatest weakness is its reluctance to take positions. Historically, during times of greatest stress, during periods of greatest controversy, the mass media are the first to be attacked, the first to be muzzled, and also, unhappily, the first to fold up their tent and look the other way. This philosophy was at the core of The Loner. It refused to look the other way, even when the audience wasn't ready to face the issues it addressed. Today, The Loner is often overlooked in discussions about Serling's legacy, overshadowed by the lasting impact of the Twilight Zone. But for those willing to seek it out, the show offers a rare and compelling look at a master storyteller trying to push the boundaries of television one last time.